Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into, pun absolutely intended, one of Earth's most terrifying oceanic mysteries. This is a place where hard science, deep history, and some really unsettling legends all collide. Let me tell you, what scientists are finding down in these depths is going to completely change how you look at our oceans.
All right, to really wrap our heads around this phenomenon, I want you to imagine something with me for a sec. Picture yourself diving into the ocean. You're swimming near the surface, surrounded by this crystal clear, incredibly peaceful blue water. The sun is shining down, the temperature is absolutely perfect, and everything around you just feels vibrant and calm.
But as you head deeper, things start to shift. Just a few meters down, that warm, comforting sunlight suddenly begins to vanish. The water gets noticeably colder, and then these strange, low-frequency sounds begin to echo through the darkness around you, bouncing off unseen walls in the deep.
And then, you look down, and boom! This giant, pitch-black underwater hole opens up right beneath you. It just swallows the ocean floor. It is a visceral, honestly terrifying sight, and it leads us directly to the core of what we're looking at today.
So let's jump right into Section 1, the Gateway, and talk about the geological origins of these formations.
So what exactly are they? Geologically speaking, a blue hole is basically a massive marine sinkhole. If you're flying over one in a helicopter, it literally looks like a giant dark pupil staring right back at you from the surface of the ocean. The contrast between that shallow, bright turquoise water and the pitch-black center is just incredibly stark.
And this number right here perfectly illustrates the sheer, terrifying scale we're dealing with. Some of these holes plummet more than 300 meters deep. To put that into perspective for you, you could stack several massive skyscrapers inside one of these things, and the top wouldn't even break the surface of the water. It's just wild.
Now, you might be wondering, how does a 300-meter hole just randomly appear in the ocean floor? Well, millions of years ago, during the various ice ages, these spots weren't even underwater. They were massive, dry cave systems. But as ancient sea levels rose, those caves flooded. The immense pressure and the sheer weight of all that water eventually caused the cave roofs to completely collapse inward, leaving behind the enormous, deep underwater shafts we see today.
Moving on to Section 2, the deadly descent. Let's look at the human element of this mystery.
You know, divers often call these blue holes a gateway to another world because they're so pristine and honestly, just completely unique. They attract highly experienced divers from all over the globe. But here is the dark side. Despite all their specialized training and state-of-the-art modern gear, many of these divers have vanished forever into the depths. Because when you're down there, you are fighting this lethal combination of environmental and physiological dangers. First off, you're battling unpredictable, incredibly strong currents. Then, you've got to squeeze through these narrow, maze-like tunnels where visibility drops to absolute zero. And perhaps the most dangerous thing of all is deadly nitrogen narcosis. It's a physiological condition that alters your consciousness at extreme depths, leading to confusion and, very often, fatal mistakes.
And honestly, the accounts from those who actually make it back, they are chilling. Some survivors have reported this totally inexplicable physical sensation of being dragged, like they actually described feeling as though they were actively being pulled deeper into the darkness of the hole, even while they were fighting with everything they had to swim back up to the surface.
Which of course brings us to a pretty haunting question. Was that dragging sensation just the result of extreme deep water panic and nitrogen narcosis messing with their heads, or is there something else going on? Some physical current or unseen force at play in those pitch-black tunnels?
All right, Section 3, Echoes from the Abyss. Let's get into the actual scientific discoveries. When researchers actually manage to explore these spaces, what they find is both fascinating and, frankly, really tragic. Expeditions have recovered ancient animal bones from creatures that walked the Earth millennia ago. Sadly, they also frequently find the human remains of the divers who never made it back. But chemically speaking, the most bizarre discovery is the presence of anoxic layers. These are zones of water that contain almost zero oxygen, where normal marine life simply cannot survive. And here is why that matters. Because life basically doesn't exist in those anoxic depths, the water down there is entirely undisturbed. This extreme stillness acts as a perfect, eerie time capsule. Whatever falls into a blue hole, whether it's a massive animal from the Ice Age or a modern piece of scuba technology, it just remains perfectly preserved down in the darkness for thousands of years.
That brings us to Section 4, Monsters and Myths, focusing on the local folklore.
So we have this really fascinating balance here between chilling local legends and an equally unsettling scientific reality. On one hand, you have locals talking about massive sea monsters and literal portals to other dimensions. On the other hand, science points to ancient bones, tragic fatalities, and toxic oxygen-free water. So, while science doesn't exactly validate the sea monsters, the reality of what is actually down there is almost just as terrifying.
And that fear is absolutely real for the people who live near these formations. Even today, despite obviously not having hard scientific proof for interdimensional beasts, strange, unexplainable events just keep happening around blue holes. Because of this, a lot of local fishermen flat out refuse to sail anywhere near them once the sun goes down.
Finally, Section 5, the limits of science and modern exploration.
To try and map these underwater labyrinths, researchers deploy an incredibly impressive, cutting-edge toolkit. I mean, they are throwing the whole shebang at these sinkholes. We're talking heavily armored advanced submarines, high-resolution sonar imaging to digitally map the cave walls, and highly maneuverable underwater robots designed to go where humans simply cannot survive. But here's the catch. Even with all that state-of-the-art tech, we eventually hit a wall. Literally. The passages deep within these blue holes eventually become way too narrow for even the smallest robots to squeeze through. Plus, the complete, suffocating darkness just swallows up the light from even the strongest submersibles. Because of these sheer physical limitations, these marine sinkholes remain only partially explored. It's like every single expedition designed to find answers just ends up raising a dozen more questions.
Which naturally leaves us with some massive, totally unanswered questions. Could these blue holes contain completely undiscovered species? Is there brand new biological life hiding out in those narrow passages, adapting to the pitch black just inches beyond the reach of our submarines and our sonar?
Or, let's push that curiosity even further. Knowing that the anoxic water preserves bone and organic material so flawlessly, could those still, completely oxygen-free depths actually be holding the secrets of ancient civilizations? Could human artifacts from thousands of years ago be sitting quietly right at the bottom of a 300-meter drop? The truth is, we just don't know for sure. And honestly, that's exactly what makes the blue hole so incredibly fascinating. The greatest mysteries on our planet aren't just out there in deep space. They are hiding silently right beneath the waves. Maybe some mysteries are literally just meant to remain unsolved. But I want to know what you think, so head down to the comments. Would you ever dare to dive into a blue hole, or are you firmly staying safely on dry land? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious and stay fearless.